Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm returning to Strategic Command, World War II, World at War. It is June of 1944. The Allies are doing very well in the Pacific indeed. Okinawa has fallen, Iwo Jima has fallen, and we're beginning preparations for at least a partial invasion of the home islands in Japan. Unlikely that, now that I'm looking at the map, that we'll be able to land directly on Osaka or Tokyo, because none of those hexes actually have an adjacent sea hex that I can just roll units up on and use my amphibious advantage to destroy enemy units ashore. So what we might have to do is land simultaneously at Nagasaki and Hiroshima to open up a land front, and then use our superior level 5 tanks to rush eastward into the sort of heart of the Japanese home islands. The other alternative would be to land north at Niigata if we can get our transports around into the Sea of Japan in Sendai, and maybe use the rail lines north there to make a direct approach on Tokyo. But I'm thinking taking Nagasaki and Hiroshima might be the better approach. We'll have to see. China, meanwhile, continues to cling on. The Japanese are pushing ever further westward. They still haven't taken Chongqing. We actually destroyed a Japanese army in China last turn. But they are driving west and threatening India, or at least slowly driving west and beginning to threaten India. Meanwhile, in northern China, we are building up some minimal defenses to help protect our alternate capital at Umrichi. We've already lost one alternate capital at Langkao, so presumably once Chongqing falls, which will likely happen at some point, then we'll fall back to that alternative capital in the north. Meanwhile, troops near Qichao and Chongqing also are acting as a barrier to Japanese advances on India as well. The Dutch East Indies, meanwhile, are still firmly in our control. The Japanese, or well, I guess not firmly, everything but Brunei and Miri are firmly in our control. I am moving troops north to try and take Tarakan, which is a valuable oil facility to the east of Brunei, and then we may make a drive on Brunei. Manila fell this last turn, so that should hurt Japanese morale, and we will begin the drive south on Davao in the southern portion of the Philippines on the island of Mindanao. Meanwhile, in the European theater of operations, we have fallen back to Spain, but even there we can't seem to get our supply situation into good shape. So I'm debating pulling out of the continent altogether. I hate the idea of abandoning Spain and all the MPPs that Spain and Portugal would give the Axis powers, but I may do it. I may shift troops east to try and reignite the offensive in Italy, or we may just pull them back to England. Speaking of England, we have also sent some naval vessels north to try and deal with some German motor torpedo boats in Norway, and we may also push further north to try and crush the German high seas fleet before they are able to use their post-Russia money to build up a fleet that even we can't handle. Those are things I'm considering right now, but we'll see. Russia is still in dire straits. The Germans are advancing on the western portion of Moscow. They've destroyed a corps in each of the last two turns to the west of Moscow itself. Each of those turns I've raced a reinforcement unit in to plug the gap, but it's likely they'll do more damage this turn. And then in central eastern Russia, everything's just a mess. We've already done our turn for this turn, so we'll go ahead and move into July and see what the Germans have in store for us. Japanese morale suffers due to the loss of Manila. The Allies liberate the Philippines, at least the northern portion of the Philippines. Axis raiders are disrupting convoys to the USSR and 3 convoys to the UK. UK is developing industrial technology level 3, that's good. We are also developing anti-submarine warfare level 2 for the US, that's good, because the Germans and Japanese seem to have an annoying amount of subs. The Japanese have, I think, 1 carrier left. It retreated somewhere. We couldn't find out where it went, and then I think they have 2 subs. Alright, so the German fleet is moving against the Soviet destroyer, which I brought out of Murmansk, and they quickly destroy it. Looks like they also pulled their motor torpedo boat out of Norway now that I moved naval assets to the north to try and deal with that. Some reinforcement and maneuver activity going on here in the Soviet Union, as to be expected. It's taking the AI a little bit longer to think about this turn, it feels like. There's also a panzer unit cut off here north of Perm, which is one of the other Soviet alternative capitals. Japanese bombers hitting American troops on Okinawa. Not doing any damage. I think they did some damage to the supplies, but they didn't do any, like, hit point damage there. Meanwhile, a Chinese corps is getting hit by Japanese tactical bombers and actually destroyed there by the tactical air force there. German tactical air force units are engaging Americans in the mountains of Spain or southern France. We had some interceptors there that diminished the effectiveness of it, but they still hit nonetheless. Meanwhile, German V weapons continue to terrorize England, hindering British production capabilities. German mechanized troops have advanced out of Montpellier towards some American infantry units there. A Soviet infantry unit destroyed in southern China. Another unit on the border of Moscow destroyed there on the western border of Moscow there. Japanese units continue to advance in Kwichao. There's a headquarters unit there that's really just a blocking force for us. So far, it's survived anyway. German army units attacking out of Ryazan get hit by defensive artillery. Don't accomplish much. The army to the east of Ryazan, the Soviet army to the east of Ryazan, meanwhile, takes damage. Doesn't take any damage and inflicts some. Soviet corps surrounded west of Ufa. German armor springs east to try and form a pocket near Perm. Heavy armored attacks on the front south of Moscow. There goes the headquarters unit that was blocking the road to Kwichao. I thought it might have survived, but apparently not. So another turn of grinding destruction. Slowly grinding down our forces here in the end of June as we are about to progress into July of 44. One might hope that we could make it to another winter, but I'm not optimistic, at least for the Soviets anyway. The garrison unit there near Kwichao did a decent job of taking some damage. Or rather, not taking damage. But now that I have that level 2 ASW tech, I should really see if I can't take advantage of that. Alright, so a lot of damage. We'll go into the intel period there. There's an army at Kyoto there for the Japanese. Intelligence in Japan is super interesting to me. It looks like they have multiple headquarters units there in the home islands. I'm curious about how strong their actual forces are there. Battleship in the Vestfjord. So we know they have an army unit at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Looks like 2 Soviet corps and a Shock Army are coming online this turn. I also think I've got a Chinese unit coming online as well. Alright, so we destroy... Oh, come on. Alright, so we destroyed a German panzer unit in the north there, north of Perm. Attack this panzer here to the south. Don't do any damage to it. Okay. Alright, so I just advanced toward Kazan. Nice. The Germans may have gotten themselves a little bit overextended here in the east. We advanced on Kazan, which should cut the supply off for this mechanized and cavalry formation here west of Perm, which will be nice. Okay. The problem is they've destroyed the units we had in... Actually, what we could do... Ah, shit. I should have bombarded them. Well, I damaged the infantry in Ryazan, so hopefully they'll... I don't know, I was hoping to drive the troops out of Ryazan, then if we took that, it might have hurt the supply of those units there. Alright, so new Soviet corps is going to go here, east of Moscow. We have 2 Shock Armies coming online this turn, actually. We'll put another unit north here at Yaroslav. Okay. The 2 new Shock Armies I'm going to put in the east near Perm. Mainly to keep them around this headquarters unit, so if Moscow falls, that we can keep fighting effectively over here. Okay. Alright, these guys are pretty much out of supply here in China. Nice. So we destroyed another Japanese army here in China. Good for us there. We'll reinforce these troops. Meanwhile, Japanese armor appears to be advancing on Chongqing. We'll advance this corps here. And this army here. So we've got a forward defense there, and then the new corps will go into position here at Quichao. So a little bit of a forward defense, although no entrenchment here. And now we'll drop a new corps here into China. I think I'll have enough money to buy, because none of these units can really upgrade or anything. So I think I'll have enough money left over. I don't know. I mean, 17 MPPs, that's worth it, I think, for an elite army there at Umrichi. So then we'll go ahead and we'll buy a new army for the Chinese, the 68th Army. Oh, we're just short. If I hadn't done that reinforcement, we would have been fine. We'll just buy it anyway. We'll upgrade it once we have it. So we'll get a new Chinese army in September. Alright, so that's the Chinese front. We did the Russian front as well. So let's move over here to Spain. I can reinforce this American corps fully. So I think I'll do that, just because if I pull it back, it'll probably take air losses. Attack with those guys here. We'll move this armor down here. Didn't quite accomplish what I had hoped. Okay. So we'll bring these troops on to Sicily. I am going to start pulling out of Spain slowly. We'll pull these guys back to Bilbo. Or Balbo, or whatever it's called. I'm going to pull these Canadian headquarter back to Great Britain just because there's no Canadian units left in Spain. Same for the South African headquarters unit. Okay. We could move this headquarter unit right away, but it would hinder our supply situation. Move them into Toulouse, because that'll give them a better supply. Send this tactical air back to England, maybe? Maybe in the north? Let's hold off on that right now. Alright, we'll get them back up to full strength here. Alright, we'll move this artillery back to Valencia, because that should be able then to... move via rail. Moving this army to Sicily may have been a mistake. I'm not sure. We'll see. Did I have one more unit that was like on its way or was on the US West Coast? No. Okay. All right. It's not a great situation, but it is what it is. It's a very thin line in Spain right now, but the Germans don't seem to be pressing too hard there either. I think in any event, I'd pull one British unit back to hold Gibraltar to keep the channel open. Maybe take Cadiz and just sort of hold this line down here. Put a headquarter unit in Gibraltar and then an infantry unit in Cadiz. I don't know. In any event, that's going to do it for the European front altogether, I think. Naval stuff... I wonder where they moved their patrol boats. Doesn't seem like they moved them that way. Oh, enemy contact. Patrol boats in the open oceans. All right, pull back here. Give me a naval fight I can win. How do they shoot down 2/3 of a, or 2 units of... They like crippled the air wing with their flak. That just doesn't make any sense. And that cruiser's worthless. Okay, come on. Give me a break. I can't even finish it off, can I? Oh, I've got one destroyer left. Got it. Barely. Alright, so we managed to destroy one enemy naval vessel. One of the German naval vessels there. They've got 20, apparently. But we got one of them, and there's a small national morale perk for that. Of course it dives from attack. Worthless. Well, we upgraded that cruiser to be all it can be. I should probably upgrade the air units here on these carriers. That might have been part of my problem. Well, the fighters can get a lot better, that's for sure. So we've now got level 4 fighters on that carrier. I also think I want to pull some of these units back. back to the home island, back to, not the home islands, but back to Great Britain, just to make sure we block any potential chance of an enemy in cross-channel invasion. It seems slight, but I'm less worried about the status of these Spanish ports than I am, or the Portuguese ports, than I am England or Great Britain. Okay. These battleships can't fully repair there. The port's too small. We'll leave them at Malta for now. It doesn't look like Alexandria is any better off. They're all level 5 ports over there. Alright, then we've got this South African garrison unit that's coming north. Throw him into Corsica. They might actually be able to move south into Sardinia. See if we can take that over. Okay. Alright, so that's everything there. Okay. Alright, I'm going to try and move this headquarter unit of Australian units south. I don't really need the... Did they get full supply when I'm moving? They do. That's exactly what I was hoping. So they get full supply when I move them as transport, or as... Problem is there's no port here, so I don't know that we can draw supply there. These guys might have 0 supply next turn. Shit. Alright. I'm gonna see if I can't get transports into border Davao so we can try and land here across this open water. Okay. Still don't know where that Japanese carrier went. Alright, we're gonna pull this guy off EUO. I need to reinforce them, so I'm hoping they'll have the supply to reinforce there. By MacArthur. We'll see. Meanwhile, we're going to throw these guys on transports. And drop them up off on Iwo Jima, so there's a garrison there. Okay. Okay, so it's going to take a while to move south in the Philippines, but once we get there, maybe that'll do something for us. 3rd Australian Corps. Where do I want to put these guys? This is still Axis here? Really? Probably should liberate Guam then, huh? We'll move that naval unit down there. The other alternative option, which would be kind of interesting, would be landing at like Hong Kong, maybe Fuzhou, some of these rear area cities in China. That might not be terrible places to go for us. Meanwhile, I think we've got another unit that just came on the map. We do, so we'll send the 2nd Rangers via transports. I think our staging area is going to be Saipan and Guam. We can load 1 unit. We can load 3 long-range amphibiouses and a single turn-off here. I think Okinawa is too close to the enemy. Is this an Axis? Yeah, sure, whatever. We'll land those guys on Jolo. Okay. I think actually what we should do is unload them here. And then we'll load them up to get ready to go to Brunei. Okay. A lot of these hexes are not really worth anything. It's kind of like, well, we could put them here to take the rest of Timor, but it's not worth much. I don't know if Kendari's worth anything. Alright, we'll keep pounding the port at Davao to try and lower the enemy's supply here. Alright. So not sure if we have adequate weather here to strike, and we do. So we finished knocking out that port there. Now we can focus our air power on hitting the enemy. Infantry here. We really need to upgrade those aircraft, by the way. But we'll slowly take out their supply with our air power. Should also hurt their morale and their efficiency, so when our troops do finally get down to Davao, they can have an easier time of it. Also, we are doing a little bit of damage to the troops down here. Not much, but some. Okay. You can see their morale is below 30% now. I'd be pretty depressed if you kept bombarding and shooting me and stuff. My cruisers are taking some heavy fire down here. All right, their morale is down to 26%. Readiness is 31. Supplies down to 5. Strength is down to 7. We can reinforce that cruiser slightly. We really need to take Brunei. That's an important economic base for them. That's Free French. Not really much I can do with over there. Subs. Brazil. Canada. Maritime. I mean, I think that's about it for this turn. We still need to spend a little bit of money. So the British have 155. What can we do with that? We're already working on level 5 tanks. We need better fighters, but I don't have the money for that right now. We could invest it in advanced subs, but we don't really have any British subs. That's probably not going to change anytime soon. ASW is probably important for the British. We're so far behind there. But I'm actually going to do it with, is it industrial or is it production? Industrial is the economic output. Production is the cost. Let's put double our effort behind industrial. U.S. meanwhile is almost to level 3 industrial. If it ever will just speed the hell up a bit. Production's moving way faster for the U.S. than industrial. The U.S. is actually in pretty good shape from a research perspective. Everything's almost maxed out on the right, minus logistics, production, and industrial. Probably the 3 we should have done first. We've got 2 chits into air defense, 1 into anti-submarine warfare, 1 into ground warfare. We're almost maxed out there. Advanced subs, we're not really doing much there, but I don't intend to change that. Naval weaponry's maxed. Heavy bombers, we really don't have much in the way of heavy bombers anyway. We're already investing in fighters. Anti-tank weapons are the one thing we don't really have, but that's really just for the anti-tank unit. So I don't see a reason to invest there, and the Russians, they need units more than they need anything else. So we'll buy another Shock Army for the Russians. And we'll buy another army for the Russians. So we'll get 1 new army, 1 new Shock Army. So it looks like in July, next turn actually, we should have 3 corps coming online. And then in September and October, we'll get 2 armies coming online. The Americans, meanwhile, have a paratrooper unit, a heavy tank unit, a marine unit, all coming online in the fall. They've also got a fighter unit coming in July. So the U.S. units, 280. Not enough for more tanks. I don't really know, like, what mechanized are specifically good for compared to, like, an army. Part of me wants to buy the Wisconsin just to have it. We could go with strategic bombers. Those might help a little bit somewhere. Tactical bombers might be more useful. Honestly, I think I'm just going to go for the cheap core because we had one that was destroyed, the mechanized unit. So we'll buy that, and then we'll bank the remainder, I think. That also will come nicely on the same time as the heavy tanks as well. So that's good timing, actually. That'll be a very busy month. And then India has 120 points. They can spend that actually on a new infantry corps, or we can go with special forces. Let's go with a corps. So we'll get 2 corps of Indian troops there. And that's going to do it for this turn. So we'll see. We got a nice bounty of reinforcements near Perm. Moscow still continues to hold out stubbornly, hopefully, for as long as we can pray. And that's the situation right now, guys. The European front is... We're thinning out our forces, I guess. We're planning on pulling them all out eventually. I should probably pull these carriers back somewhere safer to repair, I guess, since I'm pulling most of the fleet back a little bit. Alright, we can reinforce this battleship slightly. Yeah. So I think that's going to do it for this turn, guys. I hope you are enjoying this series. As always, please let me know your thoughts down below if you'd like to see more of this. And until next time, guys, I hope you have a nice day. And this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'm out.